My name's Cole. What's your name?
I'm River.
River. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
And today, so you want to help animals.
I do.
Why is that?
I have had no less than 4 pets my entire life. I foster for my local humane society, and right now I have technically 11 pets, but only one lives with me at the dorm.
Right. Would you say that they all have like their own personalities?
Yes. 100%. My St. Bernard Strawberry is on anti-anxiety meds. My mom and I both do medicine, sort of, and my mom figured out that the dog was ridiculously anxious.
Wow. Well, that's good.
Yeah,
I'm
we
glad.
put her on anxiety meds, and she's doing a lot better.
Yeah, and I think other animals besides dogs can feel anxiety too.
Definitely.
Would you agree with that?
My cat and my bird have both done that, actually. So when we moved, my cat got really anxious and really defensive, actually. He's not going to hurt anyone or scratch anybody, but he stared my friend down the other day, and he's never done that. But he stood in front of me and just stared her down. He's never done that before.
Yeah.
But and then my bird got really anxious when I left for a
What
couple
kind of
months.
bird do you have?
I had a budgie. He is no longer
Okay.
with us. But when I left for a couple months, I didn't mean to get stuck in another country. So I was gone a lot longer than I meant to be. And he was really mad at mom because I wasn't mom, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he got really anxious.
That's
yeah,
cool.
No, they have lives and personalities.
do you think that chickens, cows, and pigs can also have personalities?
I
and
do.
feelings?
I definitely do.
Do you consume animals?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Solely because I'm a carnivore.
Carnivore.
Not
What?
Omnivore.
Omnivore.
Tired.
Yeah, it's okay.
You got me out of a lab class.
Would you agree that humans can be healthy without consuming animal products?
I think so. Yeah.
Because
We
we've been vegan. She's been vegan for like 3 years. I've been vegan for like 8.
It's harder. It's probably a lot harder.
Sure.
I don't have to think as hard about what I'm eating every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, no, I have friends who are, one of my roommates is vegetarian, but I mean, he has to think about it,
Yeah.
you know? And then I have other eating things.
Yeah.
But
Have you ever seen anything that made you feel conflicted about consuming
yes.
animals?
Yes.
You have?
My grandmother raised cows my whole life and still does. And I was vegetarian for a year because my dad thought it would be so good for me to see what happens to the cows.
Oh, wow.
And my mom was like, you can take them up there if you tell them exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And nobody told me that they were going to shoot a cow in the head.
Wow.
Like 5 fucking feet away from me. So yeah,
That's
no,
crazy.
I was definitely vegetarian for a year. I was not a fan of that.
I've been an animal rights activist since 2017. I haven't been able to see that.
Yeah.
And
No, I also think sustainable farms are the best idea.
Yeah.
So I was on my way home from orientation, actually, and
but you were traumatized
I
by
was
that.
from that. Yeah, definitely. But I was on my way home from orientation, and there was a cattle farm, and they looked sad.
Yeah.
There must have been hundreds of them in one little pen.
That's so sad.
Yeah. And I think about it, but like the cows that my grandma raised did have fields and acres, and I just didn't want to watch a cow get shot.
Yeah.
They probably did live very happy lives, come to think of it.
Yeah.
But no,
But the end of their
was not a fan
lives,
of that.
taking their lives violently, if an animal has a good life, they probably want to continue to live.
probably.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that they do.
So when we take their lives from them, that's kind of like a rights violation.
I
Wouldn't
would
you say?
agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do that to a person.
Right. So
Well, we do. We just
do you think now that paying for animal products is kind of morally inconsistent with how you view animals?
It is. I tend to try to go for more sustainable places, but convenience is cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you think
is cheap.
convenience justifies taking an animal's life who wants to live?
I'm now conflicted. Like, you're gonna be at a good time? No, probably not.
Yeah.
But it's what we do here.
And if you were in the animal's position, would you want people to speak up for you and to not
would.
pay for you to be killed?
Definitely. I would also wish that I had a voice.
Yeah. That's what we're out here trying to do. We love animals just like you do.
Yeah.
And, I think the best way to live in line with my ethics is to live vegan.
Okay.
we look at animals not as objects for our consumption, but as individual beings, and
Right.
we, extend that to all animals.
Yeah, you're right. I think I'm at a point where the cow is dead anyway.
Yeah,
It's already.
but
That's why I tend to go for sustainable places.
yeah.
Because they've already taken the life, unfortunately.
But when we, they've done studies, and when people buy less animal products, producers kill less animals. Would
Really?
you agree with that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like supply and demand.
Okay.
So being vegan
look
makes
into that.
a really big difference.
Okay. Do you know if the Meatless Monday thing has a similar effect?
It would have some effect.
Okay. I mean, less, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way I look at it, if it's, let's use another example, and you might not find these analogous. You can call me out
Okay,
for it
that's
if
fine.
you want.
I'll try.
But let's think about domestic violence, right?
Probably gonna have to call you out on this one.
Okay. Yeah. So violence towards animals, slitting their throats, it's violence. I'm against that. I'm against
Yeah.
violence towards animals. Domestic violence, or let's use another example.
Okay.
Say like kicking a dog.
Yeah.
Because what do you think's worse? Getting kicked and surviving, or having your throat cut and not surviving?
It would depend.
It would depend.
Yeah, severely.
Yeah.
Depends on who is kicking me, or if it broke
Sure.
bones, or
Sure.
if it punctured a lung, or
Right.
because also a slit in the neck is quick. A lot of the time, it can be.
It can be.
It
Or it
can
can be slow and painful.
There
to
is
you.
that, but ideally,
But you lose your life.
yeah.
You're
asking the wrong person about losing their life.
Oh, I'm
Maybe
sorry.
maybe cut that. But
Okay.
you're asking the wrong person this conflicting question.
Yeah. But let's say, for instance, someone's kicking dogs, and I'm not saying that you're as bad as a person
Yeah.
who kicks dogs,
Yeah.
because it's so normalized in our
It is.
society to consume animals. Like you were saying, it's convenient and it's everywhere. But from the animal's perspective, if you're kicking a dog once a week, that's a lot better than kicking a dog 7 days a week.
is,
but
yeah.
it's still wrong.
Yeah.
Still wrong. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
So I kind of view consuming animal products the same way. Yeah, if you consume animal products like once a week, that's a huge improvement
probably
over 7
is,
days.
yeah.
And that's going to make a tangible difference
Yeah.
in the lives of animals.
Okay.
But it's still morally wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think over the course of our conversation, I think the biggest difference here is that we're conscious and can communicate with one another.
Yeah.
I think if we couldn't, we wouldn't think about it at all.
I think animals communicate with each other
Yeah, but they also cannibalize each other.
in certain situations.
Like-
And humans will do that too. Like in the Andes,
But I
when
think
that
it's
crashed.
our responsibility to be conscious. And so
Yeah.
I think that's what you're doing. Great job.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much
Yeah, I
for
think it's
talking with
mostly
us.
that we're conscious is the biggest difference.
I would say that animals are conscious too, and they are
So,
sentient.
conscious with the ability to voice our thoughts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well-
Sorry, we can communicate our thoughts. Yeah.
Would you say that there are some humans that can't communicate their thoughts?
Yeah.
And would it be okay to kill and consume them
No.
for food? Because
No. But I think that's why this dissonance exists.
Yeah.
Is why I'm.
Sure. Well, thank you so much,
thank you.
and I can tell you really do care about animals.
do.
And we have some resources for you, just a booklet. And thanks for
take it.
talking with
Yeah.
us.